We stayed focused on following the science, on promoting public health rules, and Canadians stepped up in their communities. They stepped up for their frontline health workers. They stepped up for each other, and Canada has never been so strong and together as we are now.
Good times, brother. Really good times. Bankers shutting down donations to truckers. A lot of misinformation. I want to make it clear the Give, Send, Go link in the description does work. They are taking donate.
Hey, brothers and sisters, bless up, and thanks for joining me on a bit of a different video, eh? Well, it is and it isn't. This setup is only because I'm having technical difficulties downstairs in my normal trimming area. Today we are trimming up some organic. Well, no need to panic, it's all organic here on the farm, but some organic hummus chili bomb. All right, yeah, so a couple of my fluorescents burnt out in my trimming area, so it's dark down there and we can't trim. Gotta see what you're doing, right? And as evidenced by our intro, that is a good reflection of Canada's Prime Minister, Justin Castro Trudeau. Don't you know, the laughingstock heard around the world, as evidenced by his behavior and his myopic sort of categorization of the small fringe minority that is 2.5+ weeks into protesting an end to all mandates. We're not here to extrapolate on this current global revolution that we're watching. I am taking the opportunity to enjoy one of the many live streams, simply for the matter of, if you've seen our news, our legacy media up here in Canada, they are rather egregious. Well, let's cut the bullshit. They're just a bunch of lying bastards, making shit up, literally making shit up, scare tactics, straight up propaganda. But I digress because, hey, if you're in the flow, you know. But today we're here to talk about us, you and I, being connected. Not just you and I, but the connectivity that we all have with one another, with our planet, with our solar system. With all beings, I guess, would be the best way to categorize that. Throw a couple of things at you, which I'm sure you're aware of. If you look at the mycelial network of fungi, it can look like the synaptic interlaces of our brain, and that also looks like the interconnectivity of the galaxies. When you look at the cosmos. Kind of neat how that works, eh? And another thing that is in that same vein is, for example, we'll just use the Fibonacci sequence, and that is found everywhere from the curve of your ear to a conch shell to a sunflower, patterns of how leaves develop on plants, all the way up again to a galactic level of the interconnectivity of the universe and the galaxies within them. So there is something there. It's not just a coincidence, but the interconnectivity of you and I is what we're here to sort of discuss briefly. I won't take up, hopefully, too much of your time. I'm busy, you're busy. It's a busy time on planet Earth. Interconnectivity of you and I guess the most common example I could give is when you're doing something such as trimming your organic cannabis or engaging in something where your mind may wander about. You're doing something that doesn't need a lot of focus or attention to. And, for example, you're thinking about your friend you haven't talked to for a while, or maybe a family member. But you're emanating a strong vibration. You're in the moment. You're literally be here now. You are doing that as your brain manifests these thoughts, because as evidenced by our dear friend David, thoughts are things. Never forget that. Sometime later that day, all of a sudden, phone rings. And it's like, I was just thinking of you. And that individual, more often than not, will say, and I was thinking of you. I had an inclination to call. That is the type of interconnectivity that transcends the previous images to the interconnectivity that you and I have. For whatever reason, the way I vibrate, or what I do, or who I am, or whatever it is about me, that draws you to be coming back for more, so to speak, liking my rapport, liking what I have to say. It doesn't matter. We are connecting on a level that transcends this plane of existence. Why do people come together? Is there something to do with the harmonics of how we vibrate as individuals? Another example. One of our best friends, Ardell and Karen. And we get along very well, but we differ on many different things. So it's not like we're perfect Lego to match, but how we came together was why. Why did that happen? One day in April of 2016, I'm on the YouTubes, and for whatever reason in my feed are suggested channels. And it's not like I spend a lot of time giving a fuck about what goes on in Ontario, but one of these channels was based in Ontario. It's called Making Clouds with Mudflap. So I started watching this guy, and he seemed like a really nice, personable guy, and I liked his videos, and his message was good, and he was about educating older adults about the benefits of medical cannabis. And I noticed right away, oh, that's a bud that's on the floor. Oops. Right away, I noticed that some of his locations were in my old stomping town of London, Ontario. So I ended up interacting with him, making comments in his videos, and he commented back because he's a personable kind of fellow that way. And we struck up a rapport that developed into a relationship, and even though he's a couple years older than I, and our social circles never interacted, there was a connection there. We vibrated on the same frequency for a myriad of different reasons. And for whatever reason, you know, I opened up my heart and my soul to these individuals and gave them the full meal deal that is me, and told them a lot of things about me that many of you don't know. Well, some of you do know about them as of recent. And they were motivated to move out here. Well, obviously after coming to visit. And I'm sure for whatever reason, the universe brought us together so that those folks, when things happen, because they were meant to happen, when those things happened, they would be in a place that would be the best place for them to be. Another example I will give you, briefly, and get on with this, is I dated a girl once who was significantly younger than me. And it was not until after a series of events had happened did I understand why I actually even had that relationship with that individual. And I didn't have the relationship with that individual because it had nothing to do with her. It had to do with her stepfather. I have previously alluded to a crime that I had committed and that I was incarcerated for. But during the course of my first trial, which I had mentioned, one of the integral parts of my defense was a private investigator. You know, I didn't have the funds to afford a private investigator, but for whatever reason, the universe brought a young woman into my life whose stepfather was a PI. And through the course of knowing me and the situation I was in, and my lawyer, he proffered his services, and he was integral to my defense. And again, it was not until after the fact that I became aware as to why all these things happened, because the relationship with the young person was nothing. It's no offense, but when you've dated a lot of people, there's a lot of people that stick out and stay in your mind and your heart, and there's some are just like a ship that passes in the night, and this is what this individual was, a ship that passed in the night. But it was all about bringing that other individual into my life. So we are all connected in some way, shape, or form. The world does work in mysterious ways, as well as being a stage. And again, don't forget, life imitates art. Speaking of art, this guy you're going to see in his next clip, his name's not Art, but this 4 minutes that you're going to spend with this retired OPP officer is an expression of what things are like on the ground. And that's how come I enjoy listening to these podcasts these live streams of what's happening in this nation's capital, because never before in my life have I ever been more proud to be a Canadian. No sporting events, no political bullshit has come up that made me want to fucking get up and wave a flag and be as proud of my country as I am these last few weeks. The ripple effect around the world. We are in the midst of that global revolution. We are all part of this revolution. So vibrate higher, be love, be peace, and of course, enjoy the gift that is each day. All right, look at the top of this. Man, can you see this? It's not going to do it justice. Take care of yourselves as we take care of one another. Have a beauty day, eh?
Hello, my name is Ed Grenier, and I currently live in Bancroft, Ontario. First and foremost, I am a proud Canadian. I'm also a husband, a father, and a grandfather. As of this week, according to Trudeau, I am now a radical, misogynistic, sexist, racist extremist. And what is my crime? I attended a peaceful rally in Ottawa. I'm also a retired member of the OPP with 33 years of combined policing experience. Last year, Doug Ford passed legislation to give police extreme powers to stop and detain citizens for walking down the street. The Association of Chiefs of Police of Ontario stood up and told the Premier that they would not be enforcing that unjust law. And here we are again today. I, like many other active and retired officers, have remained silent while observing the events unfolding over the past 2 years. In disbelief, I have witnessed the removal of citizens' rights by both the provincial and federal governments. Protection under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms have been ignored and flagrantly violated by Justin Trudeau and every premier in this country. Specifically, informed consent is no longer important. Our capacity to feed our families is gone if you disagree with the government. This tyranny has been enforced by our government under the guise that Big Brother knows best. These politicians are drunk with power and authority. They create these laws and then routinely break them with no consequences whatsoever. They have purposely generated fear, intimidation, and promoted division in our communities. They have demonized and weaponized neighbor against neighbor. Any citizen with a voice who speaks out against Big Brother and their draconian laws is characterized as radical. I attended the events in Ottawa for 3 days last weekend. What I observed was the most peaceful, respectful coming together of family and strangers alike. It truly felt like a Canada Day celebration. The state-funded media has lost any and all credibility with the people of Canada and the world. For the police officers in uniform, your country needs you now. Show them why you became a police officer. The rally is not a threat to public safety. Remember this, you are not required to follow an unlawful order, no matter who issues that order. Look into your conscience. Do not be liable for this or any other action against our peaceful citizens. The words, "I was just following orders," historically has never been an accepted defense. The people at this protest are your neighbors, their children, and their grandparents. Stand down and tell your supervisor that you will not take violent action against peaceful people, no matter who gives the order. I thank the truckers for starting this event to simply wake up and activate this country. It is much more than a truckers' protest now. It is a movement to regain our freedoms from a tyrannical government. I urge everyone to be a part of this unified movement for freedom and peacefully reach out in any way you can to let the governments know that mandates must end now. I will see you in Ottawa this weekend. Thank you.